graduates as well. And if we haven't met before, I'm Ken Goldstein. I have the pleasure of managing university partnerships for Spencer, which is a 46-year-old lead non-for-profit that supports next-gen talent in risk management, insurance education, and career pathing. And I also have the pleasure of overseeing our scholarships program, grants that support practical learning for students, course development, and more. And I am joined here today by our CEO, Megan Miller, and a variety of other folks as well. If this is your first time with us, this is a relaxed, AKA chill type of environment. We want to give you as much of a face-to-face type of experience as possible. Housekeeping items to kind of go through before I formally introduce Hylant and our excellent speaker here today. To the extent that you have the opportunity to turn your video on, we would welcome that as a professional courtesy to both Hylant and Spencer. Again, kind of equating to as much of a face-to-face type of experience as possible. Definitely encourage questions as a part of today. There's going to be an interactive session. You could do it via raise your hand and kind of come in live. You can have the benefit of engaging in the general chat. If you're shy, you can private message me. I will keep an eye on that as well and do my best to represent you in that regard as well. And then over the course of our session, once I hand things off to Allison, we'll drop some different kind of things in the chat with regard to Spencer and Hylant and Allison specifically. So with that in mind, a couple of quick hit introductions. Our spotlight speaker here today represents Hylant, which is a multi-year winner of Best Places to Work Insurance from 2009 to 2024. Hylant is a full-service insurance brokerage with offices across the country, more than 1,000 professionals on staff, and they offer complete risk management services, employee benefits consultation, wellness strategies, loss control, healthcare management, and a wide array of insurance solutions for both businesses and individuals alike. I wanted to personally thank them on behalf of Spencer for their excellent NEAM scholarship support. If you're familiar with our scholarships program, about 2/3 of the scholarships that we award are donor partner driven. And from a donor partner perspective, it not only creates an opportunity for tuition support, but career pathing and mentoring as well. So appreciate that. And of course, we have an excellent speaker from Hylant to share their time and expertise with us today on the topic of collaboration strategies for difficult coworkers. Allison Garcia is Vice President, also a seasoned talent acquisition professional with over 9 years of experience in broad-based recruiting. And Allison, I'm going to share my screen in just a minute with your slides, but ultimately hand it over to you and let me know how to best support you today as a part of the process. So I just want to make sure before we dig in that everybody can see what I'm sharing. I'm on dual screen. We're good to go
Good
visually.
to go.
All right, fantastic.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Ken, for that introduction. I really appreciate it. I did want to say we actually just got our Best Place to Work for 2025 as well. So now 17 years straight for Hylant. Just a wonderful culture here, wonderful environment that we're really proud of. But thank you for the warm introduction. So as Ken mentioned, I'm Allison Garcia. Thank you, Jasmine. So I'm the VP of Talent Acquisition here at Hylant. I've been at Hylant for a little bit over 3 years. So I just hit my 3-year milestone, which it's gone by very fast. But at Hylant, I oversee all of our recruiting functions for the organization on a domestic and global scale. I also oversee our entire intern program. We were just named a Rise Elite 50 a top insurance employer as well for an internship. So that's something to check out. There's more on that website too. But yeah, it's a wonderful company. We are a brokerage, so we work in the brokerage space primarily in property and casualty. But not going to spend too much on Hylant. I know a lot of the Spencer sessions that you are able to participate in, which are also valuable, are really focused on different items about the insurance industry. But just in addition to knowing more about the risk management industry in general, those soft skills that you gain are going to also need to stick with you through the rest of your life. So today we're actually going to focus on those managing difficult conversations, strategies for collaboration. So I'm excited to go ahead and get started. So Ken, we can go to the next slide here. Let's see. Yes, thank you so much. So what we're going to do is talk about something that affects all of us. We're going to talk about how to handle tough conversations. This could be with a roommate, a colleague, a professor, or a teammate, someone that we've had, moments where communications get tricky. So we're going to explore tools, particularly from the book Crucial Conversations. This book is used across a lot of different industries. It helps guide just growing in this area, because no matter what you do in your life, whether you go into this industry or you go into different industries, you are going to have tough conversations with a lot of people. So once we get through this, hopefully you'll have a few more tools in your belt for navigating tough moments with confidence and clarity. So before we get started, I do want to know from you, we're going to do a quick icebreaker here. So if everybody could, in the chat, go ahead and put 3 emojis that best describe you and your hobbies. I'll give you 1 minute to do that. And then we're going to have a few brave people come off mute and share 1 or 2 of those. So go ahead and take a stab. All right, we got our first one. Ooh, and I don't see a name. So if you can put your name next to it so I can call on you, that would be even better. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Bryce. Any other brave people want to put their emojis in the chat to get us started? All right, Jasmine. Okay. Thanks, Brian. All right, who wants to come off mute and share at least one? You can share all 3 or you can share one. I'll go first, though, before we have everybody else come. So I already introduced myself. My hobbies, gardening. So I know she's got a big fork, but I do like to eat what I garden. I'm a big veggie gardener. So I love to grow all types of vegetables. I also grow flowers. I'm a big flower gardener. I'm a classically trained pianist. So I studied piano for 14 years. Before I switched majors in college, I was a piano performance major. And I also love to cook and bake. Really, anything. It's kind of farm to table in my house. Eventually, I'll live on a big piece of farmland and I'll have chickens and goats if my spouse lets me. So we'll see. But who wants to share 1 or 2 of theirs?
Sure, be happy to. So travel, coffee, and then I couldn't find a fall icon, so I figured the pumpkin would be sufficient. I love a cold morning and a hot afternoon. So those are my vibes.
Me too. I am a big fall fan myself. This is my time, which I'm in Ohio. It's been very hot here so far, but the temperatures are just starting to come down. Leaves are starting to turn. So really excited to go get a fall beverage after work. It'll be nice today. Thanks, Bryce. Travis, why don't you share?
Yeah, I can. So I chose clapping emoji. I feel like I'm a pretty positive person. I also enjoy watching sports and rooting for others. And then golfing. I've been getting more involved with golfing the past couple of summers, so I enjoy that. And then the third emoji is supposed to be a buffalo. It doesn't quite look like one, but I'm from Buffalo, New York, so that kind of represents me as well.
I love it. That's amazing. I thought you were going to say that you're like a Buffalo enthusiast or Buffalo Bills or something, but that's awesome. I love the Buffalo area. Thanks so much. Do we have one more brave person? And if not, we'll keep it moving.
I think, can everybody hear me right now?
We can.
Okay, perfect. Hi, I'll try again. My name is Jasmine. It's nice to meet you. My hobbies are painting, so I enjoy digital painting with the Procreate app. All sorts from portraits to fruits to optical illusions. And I feel like I'm a very positive, happy person, so that's why I put a happy emoji face. And the movies, I enjoy going to the Imagine Novi Theater because there is a reclined chair that we can sit on while watching the movies, which I really like.
Love that. I love to have the ultimate viewing experience when I go to the movies. Jasmine, where are you located?
Yes, I'm located in Novi, Michigan, which is
Novi.
about
That's right.
30.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not that far from me. Well, awesome. Thanks for sharing. So it's great to get to know everybody. And if you want to connect on LinkedIn at any point, I'm sure we'll get there at the end. I'll share my socials with everyone. So we're gonna move on to the next slide, but thank you for introducing yourselves, everyone. So before we jump into the meat of today's content, I do want to do a quick poll. And Ken, if you can help me get that ready. I want to know, I want to understand basically when it comes to having conversations, what makes a conversation difficult for you? So if you could answer, is it you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings? You don't know how to say what you're thinking. If the other person gets defensive or angry, feeling nervous, worried you're going to say the wrong thing. Thanks for voting. We're getting some votes in. So some people are just conflict avoidant. That's very normal. If it's other, I'd like to know in the chat, what are the other things that you're worried about with difficult conversations? Some nervous or anxious? Sure. Yeah, people getting defensive, angry, that happens. Okay, we'll give it about 10 more seconds here. Oh, how can I start and continue this conversation? Brian, we're going to talk about exactly that today, so you're in luck. All right. So we've got a mixed bag of answers. So thanks for answering that. It's not always easy to navigate these conversations, right? There are feelings, and what happens when feelings are in play? Relationships can be in jeopardy, right? So it's important to be tactful. It's important to be considerate and really put thought into every interaction that you're having. So let's go into our next conversation here. So first of all, what we want to do is define what is a crucial conversation. So let's start with the basics. A crucial conversation happens when three things are present. The stakes are high, people have different opinions, and emotions are strong. How often do we see this happen in day-to-day life? Can everybody say, yes, I see crucial conversations happen all the time? Politics, the news, the social climate, classrooms, interpersonal relationships with family, significant others, right? This is very common. Some examples of when you could have crucial conversation would be maybe those roommate conflicts, group projects, or family disagreements. Very common when you're in college. Does anybody want to come off mute? We'll do a hand raising feature again. We're going to go by that today. But I do want you guys to feel encouraged to do so. Can anyone share times when you've had a conversation where the stakes were high, opinions differed, or emotions were running a little bit rampant? And it doesn't have to be super deep. It could even be you had a disagreement about having almond milk in your coffee versus oat milk. Bryce?
I'm traveling to Cincinnati this weekend, and I was packing and talking to my uncle at the same time, and I was probably a bit short, distracted, so not really like it was crucial in that we were planning out like a next visit that I would have to like an MBA college, and I was kind of like, yeah. So I was listening and distracted and didn't really like give full attention. So it was kind of high stakes in that it was like something that we were planning, but you know,
Yeah.
I don't think he appreciated me being distracted.
That happens to all of us, right? Where we want to be plugged into a conversation, but maybe we don't realize the importance of what somebody else is saying, and how easy is it to just pick up your phone and start scrolling, right? Or somebody else texts you. We're getting notified on our Apple Watch in the middle of a meeting, right? These can come up all the time, but what is the perception on the other end, right? I'm really glad you used that example, Bryce, because even sometimes it's not what you say, but it's your actions that can be perceived a certain way. So you've got to really watch your body language as well. So that was a perfect example. Anybody else want to be vulnerable and share something? This is a safe space. All right. If not, that is totally fine. But I will share one. Working in the corporate environment, it's very often that we have miscommunication, right? But when miscommunication is tied to work, what is something about work that we all know? It's personal, right? Yes, it's professional, but the work that I put out is personal to me, right? It's got my name on it. It's got my brand on it. It's something that I put time and effort and care into. So if somebody miscommunicates with me about my work product, that could leave me feeling a certain kind of way. So picking the right medium to share feedback is super important. Picking the right time, the right words, also very important. So that often happens where you really got to choose your words wisely and choose your moment as well. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So when things get heated, it's easy to lose sight of what really matters. So the first step to handling these difficult conversations is to start with the heart. It means checking in with yourself first. You need to ask yourself, what do I really want from this conversation? Do I want to fix the problem? Do I want to preserve the relationship? Or do I just want to be heard? Am I just hurt and I want them to hear that they hurt me, right? So staying focused on your true goals helps you avoid getting pulled into blame or defensiveness. So you always want to check your intentions. It's very important that you are understanding of your motivations, because if you have the wrong motivations, I guarantee you that conversation is going to go south. You have to make sure that your intentions are pure. So sometimes when we're flustered or angry, we might go into a conversation looking to point fingers. If your motivation is to tell the other person that they're wrong or simply to win, nothing good will be accomplished. If you go in with pure motives, focus on a solution, better outcomes are sure to abound. So we're going to do a quick activity. So take some time, and we're only going to do about a minute here, but think about what you really want out of a conversation and put your answer in the chat. I'm going to give you a scenario right now. So think about that, and I want you guys to participate. Put it in the chat. Here's the scenario. You're in an internship working on a group project. Everyone has their own responsibilities to keep the process moving forward on the project. One teammate in particular missed a deadline and you're about to address it. So what do you really want out of that conversation that you're about to have with them? So take 1 minute, think about it, and write your answer in the chat. Okay. Bryce said, need to understand what else they have going on in life. Yeah, really good. We're going to talk more about that. Job said, figure out why they missed it and help them avoid future mistakes. Also very good. Understand their situation and try to solve the issue together. Ken, get things back on track and supported, or in a supported and timely fashion. Yes. Travis said accountability. All great answers. I like there's a common theme here, right? A lot of people took an empathetic route of, understanding what's going on behind the scenes that could be causing them to miss it. And it could be a number of things. Could it be a family issue? Are they working a job? Do they have a million assignments due at one time? Are they in a sport and that takes a lot of time out of their day? We just don't know. But I think if you seek to understand, that's going to help. So I like this a lot. Like, you want to help them understand better. Ken said, get things back on track in a supported and timely fashion. Yes, that is the motivation behind it, right? If this person's not delivering, the goal is to get them to help start delivering so that we can get it done on time. Brian said, can I do anything on my end to help with this person? That is going to be a later step, but that is a great question to ask. And Harrison said, I want the person to be able to acknowledge what happened, how it affects the team, and what we can do to fix it in the future. And Megan said, ask if the instructions were clear and the assignments were understood. These are all great things. So if you go in seeking to understand and also with a good understanding of why you're talking to them, your motives are going to be pure. So great answers from everybody. Let's go on and move to the second step for managing a crucial conversation. So next we need to learn to recognize when a conversation turns crucial. How many of you have been having a normal conversation with a classmate or whatever, and suddenly it goes south, or maybe with a roommate, right? You didn't realize that it was going to go that way. Bryce gave the example. He was just talking with his uncle. He didn't realize that his uncle wasn't happy that he was on his phone while they were talking, and it went south. That happens all the time. Totally normal human interaction, but we need to understand when that happens. So that means we're going to watch for signs. We're going to look for when somebody shuts down. Maybe they get sarcastic. Maybe their voice would start to waver, or they start raising their voice. Those are very normal responses. So those are clues that emotions are taking over. What happens when emotions take over? Emotions are normal. They are healthy. However, they can't rule you. You need to be in control of your emotions. So when emotions start to take over, things can get out of control really quick and damage can be done. If you can spot those moments early, you can steer the conversation back to a productive place. So now what we're going to do is we're going to watch a few quick clips to demonstrate times when maybe a conversation turned quickly. The first one is from my favorite TV show. It's humorous and there are good lessons to be learned, but pay attention to why this conversation could be considered a crucial conversation, both verbal and nonverbal, and write down things that you notice. Thank you. So, what did we notice from that short interaction? Does anybody want to share what they noticed?
I think Jim, is that the guy's name?
Jim. Yeah, there's Jim and Ryan. Those are the two individuals.
Okay, yeah. So Jim walked in and I noticed he was trying to understand the setting of the meeting. He knew that there was another coworker upset with Jim's behavior, and that's what brought up the meeting. So I think and the guy, the person who was talking to Jim about changing his behavior was very serious. And so that's what I noticed from the video.
Thank you, Jasmine. That was a very good depiction of that. So good observations. Did anybody notice anything else? Maybe about Jim's behavior, how he took the feedback, how Ryan delivered the feedback to him? Bryce?
Yeah, I think the caught off guard element from Jasmine was really prominent in the reaction mainly because there was like no questions. Like it wasn't asked like any interaction, so no really collaborative. Felt kind of like I like that show, so I like those characters. So it's hard to like filter out who those characters are. But like it felt very them in their reaction to how they handle situations, but like that you're the problem, go fix yourself. Thanks for stopping by kind of vibe.
Right. Did anybody else notice anything? And then I'm going to share a little bit. Okay, so a few things that I noticed. One, Jim had no warning that this conversation was coming, right? So everybody said caught off guard. The door's open. He's pulled in thinking they're about to talk about sports. And then boom, negative feedback, threatening to get put on a formal warning. And one thing that I noticed right away was Jim standing up, Ryan sitting down. We've got this uneven playing field. HR's there, but they're not participating at all. But then Ryan says, I know how little you care about your job, right? Insinuating that he knows how Jim feels about his job when he didn't even ask. He just assumed that because of his personal bias, and yeah, he had a little bit of a vendetta against Jim at the time, based off what Jim mentioned, that he kind of went over his head to his boss. So he was angry and he accused Jim of being defensive when he himself was defensive. And you could see Jim's physical, he was going from smiling to right after Ryan said that, he shut down, right? Very easy to see his physical demeanor changed. And those are the things that we need to look for when we're learning to look, right? Watch for those nonverbals. Jim asked questions, Ryan dismissed him. And that was what I would consider a pretty toxic interaction. The door was open too. If you're going to give feedback like that, that door needs to be closed because everybody can hear it. And then Jim's thinking, oh my gosh, everybody in the office now knows that I'm on a formal warning. So those are just a few things. But we have one more clip to share. So we're going to go to that one really quick. Fingers crossed there's no ad. If there is, apologies.
2 more seconds. I'm working on a dual screen to
No
my
problem,
left.
Ken. You're okay.
All right. Second one up. Here we go.
Now what am I supposed to do? I was counting on you to finish this up.
You should have finished it yourself. You're single. I have 2 little ones to take care of at home. You know how crazy my schedule is.
I'm tired of always having to do your work.
Hey, calm down. What's the problem here?
Well, you were standing there. You heard. Rachel didn't finish her half of the project, and now we're going to miss our deadline.
Amy, you know I have kids, and it's difficult for me to work in the evenings.
Rachel, how close are you to finishing the work?
I'm sure it can be finished by Friday.
Great, Friday is 2 days too late. That means we miss our bonus, and I was really counting on that money. This is your fault. You assigned her to this. I can't believe you got promoted to project manager over me.
Wow. Rachel, I trusted you.
None of you understand how hard it is being a working mom.
Now what?
So there's another clip. Thank you so much, Ken. So that was another clip for us to watch. Very HR video, right? Those are the things that you see in a course. So what's going on that's causing the delay? There could be so many contributing factors. So really being empathetic and thinking about that, super important. So the next thing that we're going to focus on is making it safe. So people only open up when they feel safe. If someone feels attacked or they feel misunderstood, they're either going to go silent or they're going to push back hard because they feel backed into a corner. To make it feel safe, you have to show respect and find common ground. So when you are starting these conversations, you want to ask yourself, how can I show that I care about their perspective and that we're working toward a shared goal? So, what are some easy ways that actually, we're going to do an activity. So, next, we're going to move on to the next thing. So, we're going to make it safe. And so, on this slide, you're going to see 3 different scenarios where we're going to want to approach a discussion tactfully and make it safe. On the right-hand side, you'll see letters. If your name or your last name is letters A through H, you're going to take the first prompt. If your last name is I through P, you're going to take the second prompt. And if your last name is Q through Z, you're going to take the third prompt. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. So take some time to consider the scenario assigned and then work through the prompts below. And we're going to come back and share. And when we come back and share, I would love to hear from some different folks as well. I'd love to hear from the same, but I'd also love to hear from some new voices what you think about how you can make it safe. So go ahead and take that time.
That you're trying to like stay out ahead of it rather than just not saying anything, that can kind of de-arm the situation as well.
Really good. Thanks for sharing, Travis. I think another way that you could practice like a safe opening line for this one would be like, yeah, I want to get out in front of it, but also I think you can call a little bit of accountability into place, right? Like you could say, hey, I noticed that, you said that you were going to empty the trash every week, but normally I have to take it out, or the last 3 weeks I've had to take it out. I know that you're really busy. Do we need to move it to a different day to make it easier? Or should I take on trash and maybe you can do the dishes? Finding a way to do that and just kind of setting the tone. I think accountability is a big part as well. Just because you're having a difficult conversation, I want to make the caveat that yes, you want to see what's going on behind the scenes, but ultimately we all have responsibilities too. So just because you weren't able to do something doesn't mean that you get a free, you get off the hook. Sometimes you do, but not every time. Sometimes you have to be held accountable. But that's really good, Travis. Thank you so much. All right. So last names I through P. A student feels frustrated that one team member isn't contributing. So we've talked about the scenario because it comes up a lot, right? We've all done group projects where we've done more of our share, haven't we? So who wants to share from this group? I know we've got somebody who's brave to do it. Actually, we might not have too many names in this, last names in this group that have this. Well, we can do this one together. So what would be the defined shared goal of somebody where, you know, a team member isn't contributing?
I think Brian has his hand up.
Oh, Brian
Yeah.
does? Okay, I can't see him.
Yeah.
Brian, go ahead. Thanks for raising your hand.
Hi guys, my name is Brian, and to define a shared goal, I'm thinking of this scenario as just like completing a project on a deadline. To recognize emotional cues, I can definitely recognize that the other student that I'm working with is frustrated with another one for not, doing his fair share. And to discuss how to avoid blame, I don't really think this is like the right question for this because in this certain situation, there is no way to avoid blame. I think it's best to, put more work onto yourself, and then, you know, the person that's not contributing is going to be missing out on like experience and more importantly, credit for the project. And for number four, how to draft a safe approach, as I stated earlier, I think me as a person, I would like to take more work and to take more credit for what I'm working towards.
Thanks, Brian. That's definitely an approach, right? You always have the option of saying, all right, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to take more on. What I will tell you is as you graduate and you get into roles, that is not always going to be an option. Sometimes you're going to have to work with people who maybe are a little bit lazier than you, or maybe they don't pull their weight, or their standard of work isn't as high as yours. Or maybe you're going to have a very full plate because you're a high achiever and you've raised your hand for 9 different projects. So now you're working on all this stuff and your capacity is full. If you take on another project, you're going to get burnout and you're going to crack. So I would challenge you, that's an approach and you can take it, but I would challenge you to think about, all right, I can't just avoid this conversation. I've got to have this conversation and ask this person to do more. As you grow and mature, I would challenge you to see how you can do that. So maybe start with these steps. But I do like your approach. So thanks for sharing. All right. Our last one is a disagreement with a professor. Somebody from last names Q through Z. Does anybody want to go for this one? All right. We don't have any volunteers, so we're going to do this one together. So what would be the purpose of a disagreement with, oh, we've got Jasmine. Jasmine, do you want to go?
Yeah, so
Thank you.
if I disagree with the professor, I should clarify the purpose of meeting with the professor. So, for instance, if I got a lower grade, if I notice an error with this grading, I would say, "Hi, professor, may I talk to you with about my grades with you?" And then identify potential threats to safety. I would read the professor's emotional state to see if they're happy, if they're calm. If they're upset or had a bad day, I'd say, oh, let me try another day when you're in a happier mood, because I feel like when it comes to emotions, that can also define the reaction of what another person is saying. So when a person is more calm, they're more logical. So for respectful language, it's always to say thank you for the professor for their support in the education process, to say, please look this over and I appreciate. So it's always like positive language when communicating with the professor. Um, and then for the last one, the role play respectful conversation. So for instance, I got a D, but I noticed I was supposed to get a B. So I'd say, good morning, professor. How are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm good. And I said, so I noticed we got our grades back and I would like to talk to you about them. He was like, yes, Jasmine, please sit down. And then I said, can you please explain how come I got this grade? So that way I can understand from his perspective. People would say, from the Stephen Covey, you know, the 7
Mhm.
Habits tree. To be heard is to be, no, to listen is to be understood, or something with listening to other people, and then you can voice out. And so, um, and then I would say, in my perspective, I would say thank you for providing a perspective. In my perspective, I believe with these points, I should get a higher grade. What are your thoughts on it? And I think through this conversation, I think the professor and I should be able to find like a medium or like an appropriate grade for that assignment.
Awesome. Love the role play. I have no notes, Jasmine. I think you've got crucial conversations down pat. Really good. Thank you so much. So we've got a few steps left in our crucial conversation map. So the next one is going to be mastering your story. I'm going to master my stories. So here's something powerful. Our emotions come from the stories that we tell ourselves, don't they? If someone ignores your text, you might tell yourself that they're mad at you, or maybe they're just busy. When we pause and we separate our facts from assumptions, we can choose a much more balanced response. That's mastering your story. How many of us have assumed before? Yes, we all do. It's very easy to do. And it's very easy to pick the road where something's happening to us instead of we are in control. I always like to use the phrase be the thermostat, not the thermometer, right? So when you're a thermostat, you can control the thermostat of the room, the temperature of the room. When you're a thermometer, things are happening to you and your temperature's going up, right? So your temperature's rising. So you have control of your story and telling yourself what the facts are versus just letting your emotions be a little bit controlled. Okay. So humans do have a natural tendency to choose that negative response over positive. However, when we choose positive first, we have better outcomes. My suggestion is that when you're faced with a situation like an email that reads funny or an unanswered text, assume positive intent first before responding. So I actually have a sticky note on my, oh, you can't see it because it's getting blacked out, but I have really bad hand that says assume positive intent. I get a lot of emails in recruiting that are urgent, that are, we need this faster, our team's drowning, we need people, people, people. And you know what? That sometimes can be really hard. It's a lot of pressure for me. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing my job well enough, even though I know I'm doing everything that I can. That email that they're sending is not necessarily out of frustration with my work. Sometimes it's out of their desperation to deliver to their team, to control the environment, to boost morale, right? If they just know that they've got a few strong candidates, they can quell people getting stressed out a little bit longer. So if I stop and I assume positive intent and them just needing an update, then things are bound to be better. So if I slow down and assume positive intent first, it will help. So in cases like this, reaction is weakness, but response is strength. So if you cannot react and take a pause and craft the right response, it's going to help so much. So we're going to do just a quick activity here. So if you have scrap paper, that's great, but I want you to just think about a recent conflict that you've had. Think about the story that you told yourself and what were the facts versus what was your assumption. And in that assumption, what went wrong and what could you have done differently? So Ken, if you can go back to the mastermind stories really quick, and then we'll go on to the next one. But just think about that for a second. And then maybe one person will have share if they want to. And if not, that's okay. This is pretty personal stuff sometimes. And I'll give you about 30 more seconds here. All right. Does anybody want to share their personal story? And if not, it's okay, but would love a volunteer. All right, Jasmine. Go for it.
So it happened recently where I volunteered for a digital drawing teaching position, like once a week. And so the interview went well and everything. And my interviewers would say, "Oh, Jasmine, I'm gonna respond back to you at the end of the week," But then it didn't happen. And, so my assumption was like, "Oh, she changed her mind. She doesn't actually want me to teach after all," or
from personal experience, most recruiters are pretty busy. They normally have a very high load of roles that they're working to fill, and a lot of students, especially the campus recruiter, a lot of students they're talking to for different roles. So I'm glad that you heard back, and that's a perfect example of just being patient and not assuming the worst, right? Kind of assume the best. So the next step here is to state your path. So when you're stating your path, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. This is one of the most practical tools out of everything that we've talked about today. So STATE is an acronym, and it's a way to share your perspective clearly and respectfully. You're going to start with facts, tell your story, and ask for their view. You're going to talk tentatively and encourage dialogue. So this is the part that's not about being passive. It's about being honest without triggering defensiveness, right? So this is really like the meat of it, okay? So when you do share your facts, you're going to start with objective facts and not opinions or judgments, right? Let's go back to the dirty room or dirty house. Your roommate is responsible for taking the trash out, and they haven't been. That's an objective fact, right? That's not your opinion. There's no emotion mixed in there. They just haven't. All right. Let's talk about another example. We agreed to meet at 3 p.m. It's now 3:30 and you just showed up. That's a 30-minute time difference. That's a fact, right? The next one is tell your story, okay? So when you tell your story, you're going to explain what those facts mean to you. This is not where you're bringing a bunch of bias. It's just, what does the fact mean to you? So when we agreed to meet at 3 p.m. and it's now 3:30, the example is that I felt my time wasn't being respected, right? I think that if people are late, they're not respecting my time, especially a half hour. That's a long time. So that is how you feel and what those facts mean to you. The next one is ask for others' paths. So this is where you would invite the other person to share their perspective. So in this instance, I would say, what happened on your end? Right? So why are you 30 minutes late? What happened? What caused you to be 30 minutes late? The next one is talk tentatively. So when we talk tentatively, we show language that shows openness, not certainty. So when you talk really forcefully, right, you're kind of finger pointing, you're giving blame. That's going to cause somebody to be defensive. When you talk a little bit more tentatively, it shows openness to a conversation about it. So an example would be, it seems like, I'm wondering if. Okay, so I'm wondering if you had managed your time differently, you would have showed up, or maybe you didn't want to be here. Can you tell me? And that's assuming a little bit, but you're asking, right? So you're opening it up for a dialogue for them to explain their side. And then the final one is encourage testing. So this is where you make it clear that you're open to dialogue and willing to adjust your view. Because sometimes what happens, we have the wrong view, right? That does happen from time to time, because crucial conversations aren't just when somebody's not delivering, right? They could be a number of different reasons why we're having a tough conversation. And sometimes that tough conversation's happening because we've got it wrong. So we need to be open to being told that maybe we have it wrong. And so to do that, you could say, I might be missing something. Help me understand. Can't tell you how many times I use help me understand in my emails, because a lot of the time I don't understand. Help me understand why we're offering this person this much money and not this much money, because I'm not understanding, right? And there's a number of reasons why. So that's an important tool to have a dialogue versus saying, you're so cheap. Why don't you just pay this person what I think you should pay them, right? Two totally different approaches, and you're going to get two very different results out of them. broken relationship, strengthened relationship. You make the choice. So why this method works, it helps you stay honest and respectful. You're not watering down your message. So we're not diluting the message. We're talking about the issue, but you're delivering in a way that keeps the conversation safe and productive and maintains the relationship. So the next one is maintain your path. We're going to buzz through this here in our last few minutes. So we're gonna skip the activity because I feel like we just went through one. The next one is explore others' paths. So you've shared your perspective using the state method, which is awesome. But now comes the part that is just as important, which is listening. So the step is called explore others' paths because it's about being curious, not judgmental. You want to understand where the person's coming from, even if you don't agree. And when people feel heard, they're more likely to open up and they're less likely to get defensive, as we've discussed. So your job here is to make a space for their story and their path. And hopefully in turn, they'll do the same for you, right? They'll open up and they'll be willing to listen to you. So we can do things to encourage dialogue and more things. So we talked about that a little bit. Help me understand. But even furthering this more would be, can you tell me more about what happened so I can understand better? Or mirror their emotions if they're getting a little bit heated in explaining their day. I've had the worst day ever. My coffee spilled all over me. I was late to class. I almost got hit by this driver, even though I was in a crosswalk. Da 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 da. If they seem frustrated, say, "It sounds like you're frustrated. Did I get that right? You're frustrated. Tell me more. What happened? I'm sorry you're feeling that way." Empathize with them. Paraphrase to show your understanding. So you're saying that you felt left out when the decision was made to meet at 3:30, and you knew that 3 p.m. would be tight, but we decided to meet at 3:30 anyways. I'm sorry. That was my bad, right? So prime when they're reluctant to speak. I'm wondering if you're feeling upset about how I brought it up. If you came in a little bit hot and now they're upset and you're addressing why they're hot, prime that. Say, is that accurate? Was that my fault? That's very normal. But these are the ways that we can help is show empathy, show understanding, and admit when you're wrong. So I don't think we're going to watch the video of the resolution between these two coworkers because it's a few minutes long, but they did resolve it. They came to a medium by using all of the skills that we talked about today. So the last one is move to action. So when we're moving to action, it's time to make decisions. And this is how you wrap up the conversation. So this is creating your action plan, right? So who's doing what? When will it happen? How are we going to follow up with each other and hold each other accountable? Because at the end of the day, accountability is important and it's what drives respect. I respect people because they're accountable for their actions. So you want to clear actions to help avoid confusion and make sure that the conversation leads to real change. If this is your first disagreement with someone and they say they will take action or make a change, don't question their actions or words. Take them at face value and trust them to deliver on their side. It's what you would want for them, so you would want the same, right? You would want that from them, so we need to be reciprocal in that action. I want you all to think about how you could apply this in your next leadership role, in your next group project that you have. If you're a current leader in a group or a team member, I want you to think about it. Does anybody practice this now already? Have you seen good results from it? Or did we learn anything new in our approaches? Jasmine?
Yeah. Prior to learning about this approach, I had something similar where if I feel like there's some type of conflict or I'm upset with another person, I learned to not be aggressive about it, to just be calm and to understand the situation. So very similar to how you stated it, and to find a decision that we both agree on.
Yeah, it's so important to come to a consensus, right? That's something that I learned early on in my career that made a big difference is making everybody feel like their voice is heard helps so much. So I love that you said that. So to wrap up here, crucial conversations are tough, but they're opportunities for growth and they are unavoidable. They're going to happen. I guarantee it. We cannot get through life without butting heads with somebody. But when you stay focused and you create safety and speak with clarity, you can turn conflict into connection. The world of insurance is really big, but it's also very small at the same time. At its core, this is a relationships driven business. Okay. So when you're working in this industry, you want to maintain professional, positive relationships now and throughout your professional career. They could change the entire trajectory of your career. So learning to have these conversations early in a mature manner now will pay dividends in the future. There may be times when you disagree with a supervisor, a peer, a client, a business partner, but knowing how to navigate those conversations towards a mutual resolution so you continue to collaborate with each other is essential for workplace success. So I'd love to hear any questions or thoughts from you in our last few minutes here, and then share my contact info.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, how did you learn about Highland, 3 years ago?
Yeah, I actually applied. But Hylant, I'm in Toledo, Ohio. We are headquartered here. And this company just stood out to me on paper, but I got into my interview and I fell in love with it. The people here are phenomenal. The opportunity to be creative, to wear many hats, operate in different functions. I get to do things like this, but I get to recruit candidates. I get to run our intern program. I'm never doing the same thing. And I've learned a lot about insurance. And I love this industry. There's tons of stability. There are tons of growth opportunities. New things are being invented all the time. Guess what? Those new things need insured. So there's a lot of opportunities to continue just expanding where the industry goes. So it's a fascinating area to be a part of, but it's been an amazing 3 years. It's a good question. Any other questions? Oh yeah, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Thanks. So another question was like, is there like a preference about how you like to be contacted, phone number or email?
Email is a great place because I am on the phone a lot. So if you can email me, I will be sure to get back to you. But if you call me, I might already be on the phone with somebody else. So email is going to be your best method. Of course, you can connect on LinkedIn. All of our QR codes are there. That's my lovely team. So if you'd like to stay connected, that's the best way to do so.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions? I think that's a good way to wrap it. Ken, back to you.
Absolutely. I guess first and foremost, thank you, Allison, for taking the time to participate here today, kind of provide tips. I usually boil it down to three, but one of the things I wrote to the side is turning conflict into connection. I thought that was something that resonated a lot. I want to applaud the folks that participated today and joined. We really appreciate you taking the time. And obviously, thank you to Allison and Highland in connection with today's event. For next step purposes, we run our virtual campus the second Thursday typically of a month. Our next session is November 13th from 1 to 2 p.m. on the East Coast. The presenting company is Philadelphia Insurance Companies, and I think that their topic actually complements this one really well. It's communicating across generations in the workplace, which perhaps can spill over into some of the things that we learned about today. If you're interested in learning more, take a peek at our site, which I dropped in the chat, and you can navigate to our resources page and then virtual campus. And with that, we'll wish everyone a great rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you for taking the time.